I did not take that very well. We're just gonna delete that one. Might have my first track completely done. It's actually quite nerve-wracking. I'm still doing it. I didn't give up. I'm hoping people like this one. You can make it out on the other side. I did, and I'm never looking back. This is my utopia. So I'm just kind of enjoying the ride, the whole thing.
And when can people get the album?
The EP will be out June 29th, 2019.
June?
June? Lols.
When can people get your album?
The EP will be out. What's up? I'm Jonathan Miller, and I am an independent dance pop artist from a little suburb outside of Portland, Oregon. I grew up during that late 90s, early 2000s pop explosion, so like NSYNC, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Backstreet Boys, of course. So I grew up loving pop music as a whole, and those incredible artists have always kind of stuck with me. But because I love pop music by nature, I'm also kind of inspired by what's happening in the moment. So right now, you know, Ariana Grande is absolutely killing it. BTS is doing amazing. I also really gravitated towards K-pop music because they were always kind of doing what I wanted to do as an artist. So I've always had a soft spot for TVXQ, Girls' Generation, FX, BoA. So all these amazing pop artists are kind of what keeps me going. So actually for this EP and most of my work, I actually do everything mostly by myself. It's a lot of work and not something I recommend, but you know, being independent, I kind of enjoy having full creative control over my songs and my music and my lyrics. It makes the workload 10 times harder, but it's also very freeing at the same time. So I just wrote a new line for the second verse. I've changed it like 3 times now, as you can tell by my scratch marks. But I think this one kind of says it better. So let's try it. So today is July 27th. I'm just about to be finished with Na Na Na. So I have a little bit of volume I'm gonna fix real quick, and then might have my first track completely done for Utopia. I think that's better. Yeah. Oh. I love it when it just does what I want it to do. This project, I think really the only other person that had a say in my music was actually my mom. She would come in on Wednesdays and kind of help me throughout the year. She actually wrote some of the harmonies on some of the songs too, because I was just so brain dead from doing everything that she really helped me bring some of these songs to life. But everything else is pretty much me. But like I said, it's fun having creative control. Utopia is, it's definitely dance pop. It's definitely stuff you can move to, but the way I've always kind of seen the project is that it's kind of 4 different sides of me, but in the end kind of come together to really tell you who I am as a person. So you've got Na Na Na, which is really, you know, sexy and sassy. And then you've got Bitter, which is extremely sarcastic. And then you've got Utopia, which really honestly describes my life and the place that I'm at right now. And then Almost is a little bit more vulnerable and kind of tells you a story from when I was younger. So there's a little bit of vulnerability, there's still some sexy and sarcastic numbers, and then there's some happy stuff, but it's pretty much all stuff you can move to or dance to. That was kind of going into this EP, that was the goal, 100%. I titled this EP Utopia because the last couple of years have been hell. When I started making this record, or this little mini album, I was in a really bad place, guys, and I was trying really hard online to pretend that I was fine when I wasn't. I was sitting on my bed, and I was super, super depressed. Like, overweight. I hate watching any of those videos from last year. I just was so sad. We just, sold the house back in my hometown of Tigard, and I did not take that very well. I mean, I had very, very, very little money. Sometimes they didn't have any money. Surprise! I was getting really more and more depressed. Then, kind of out of nowhere, I started writing Utopia. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so dealing with the seasonal affective disorder when it gets gray and cloudy forever is mentally wearing. Every day I was taking 3 Advil, 2 prescription medications, and sitting with a heating pad on my lower abdomen for an hour every day. Not a fun way to live, just so you know. When I wrote Utopia, I felt like, where the hell did this song come from? I'm in a horrible place. I hate everything. Why am I writing this happy song? And I've always kind of told the story that I write through my subconscious, where, multiple times in my life, I have written a song that seemingly comes out of nowhere, and then a few months later, I kind of figure out why. When you hit rock bottom, the only place left to go is up. And so, after also finding out that I had a infection in my jaw, if you look at any of my pictures from that time, my jaw looks really swollen. And surprise, I didn't know that I had this infection in there that after I came out of surgery, having my wisdom teeth extracted, the doctor said, basically, this infection could have killed you, just so you know. And it was like, oh, great, cool, great to know. That was, I can laugh about it now, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that having something like that really throws you for a loop. You really kind of learn how to appreciate what it means to be alive and being here. I started adapting a celiac-friendly diet, which basically means I don't eat gluten or dairy, and I started to see an improvement. And I started biking every day, something that I loved but stopped doing. When you're depressed, motivation isn't the easiest thing to come by. I forced myself to do it because I want to be here. And I've never felt better. I've been in this business 11 years. It's been 11 years being an independent artist. It's not easy being an indie artist. It's very expensive. It's lonely. It's at times humiliating. But it's also rewarding. You get to do what you love. And after being in the trenches for 11 years, I really feel like my career is starting to grow. I mean, I'm in an amazing office. I have lighting and video equipment, and I'm still doing it. I didn't give up. Although there's been a few times I thought about it, maybe once or twice. But I always knew that this is what I needed to do. I've been so happy and healthy, and I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I'm starting to share it more with the world. I realized that Utopia isn't a physical place. It's a state of mind. And that kind of made the difference, and that's why this EP is called Utopia. I feel like being 27, I just get to kind of really share my soul with the world and not really worry about what I'm saying or who I'm gonna offend if I'm just being myself, or I should do XYZ. That's part of the power of being independent, is freedom and creative control, and I really just wasn't owning it. So now that I am, it's such a crazy experience, but it's kind of exciting to be vulnerable like that, but it's also absolutely terrifying. I look like a mess because I just had a workout, but I was feeling inspired, and I'm close to being done with almost. I've never been a gigantic producer working a huge program like this, and doing all the ins and outs and automation and all this sort of stuff. So for this EP, I had to learn all of that before I went into the studio. So a part of me is really nervous that my fans are going to hear this and they're going to be like, what is this crap? Or potential fans are going to hear this and think this is crap. It's actually quite nerve-wracking, but I also know that all of my releases have been points in my life that kind of represent what I've been going through and my skill level, I guess, if you will. And so I'm hoping people like this one. I'm nervous. I think at the end of the day, being who you are is the most powerful tool you have in your arsenal or your paint box. Yes, I have had Na 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 as my theme song on YouTube for over a year, and I got asked a couple times, is this a song that's been released and I'm just not finding it anywhere? And I was just saying, but yes, now you will finally get to hear the full song, the full thing. I'm really excited for that one because it's been fun. I wrote it actually summer 2017. As soon as I got my new place, when I moved later in the fall, when I set all of my recording stuff up, that was the first one I went to. I was like, I'm recording this song, it's happening. So actually what people have been hearing is the demo version, and I haven't corrected it all year, even though I have wanted to, but they're finally hearing it, and I'm so excited, and I hope people will really like that one, because it's very me, and it's like, you're kind of cute. Which is funny because that's a side of me I don't normally show people. I'm not like super flirty in my personal life. So in my music, it's really fun to kind of release that a little bit. Just kind of play it up, you know. So I really like that one. Bitter was the last song I recorded for the EP, and I almost didn't do it because of the pressure I was putting on myself to make it absolutely perfect. And then I wasn't really sure people would get it. I wasn't sure that they would find it funny. And also, while I was recording it, my grandpa fell and was in the hospital for over a week at the end of the summer. And so I would literally work on Bitter, drive all the way to the hospital, help my mom out who was taking care of him, and then I would drive all the way back, work on it, work on YouTube, and then repeat. And so there was a lot of pressure writing on that song, and at one point I was like, is this song even worth it? It's like, is it worth it even putting all this pressure on myself? So one of the last nights my grandpa was in the hospital, I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn on the instrumental, and I'm just going to envision it as a completely new song. Let's just pretend nobody's heard anything, and let's just focus on me. And I was like, oh, this song's actually kind of funny. I'ma be that bitch, yup. So I used that energy to go back into the studio, and that's when I wrote the rap in the middle of the song. I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna let it fly. And this song is just gonna be, you know what, if people don't get me, then they can move along, but it's not gonna stop me from doing me. And so Bitter is that song. It's totally my humor, and I think people will really gravitate toward it, but I was really on the fence for a while. So Almost is definitely the most vulnerable song on the EP. It's definitely the story of the one that got away, and it's something I went through. And I've always kind of pictured that song happening at that moment where maybe you see that person for the first time in forever, just, you know, maybe on the street somewhere, and you just kind of stop for a second. And even though it's sad, it's okay. You see them happy, but you know, there's that moment where you kind of wonder, what if? And so this song, in my head, just kind of expands on what would be, you know, a quick flash moment in time. You know, I actually wrote the line, "But holding on to an empty space is living a lie that you can't erase," in one of my earlier pre-releasing music back in high school songs. And I always kind of just loved that song, but I never wanted to release it because it just wasn't that great. And so I kind of took that line and it just felt right in with this new song. And I was like, this is where it's meant to be. This is the song that it was destined to actually go to. It's just very vulnerable, and I really appreciate that about it. Isn't it awesome? I love it. I love it so much. Like, it's that perfect blend of like futuristic, minimalistic lines that I love, but it also is very much a kind of a tribute to the way I grew up. My mom used to be the head of an international program, so I grew up with a huge Japanese influence in my life. I have friends over there that are, I would count them as blood family. I felt like this cover really just kind of paid tribute to that, and really showcases my respect for the, you know, Japanese culture, and also just kind of owning who I am. You know, the cherry blossom represents the fragility of life. They only bloom for 2 weeks in the spring. And, you know, that's kind of a lesson that I had to learn this year, is how fragile life is and how fast things can change. So I feel like this cover is just the perfect representation of all that. My brother actually did it, who is a awesome photographer and graphic designer, did it for me, and it just looks absolutely amazing. I love it so much. Utopia is for anybody who loves dance pop music. People who love to move, who love to have a good time, who also aren't afraid to be themselves and embrace who they are. My fans are amazing, and I love when I see them being their authentic selves. I think that's so powerful and so amazing. And I think people that love kind of that K-pop / mainstream pop influence and kind of mix are really gonna gravitate toward this EP. At least I hope so. I think it's for anybody who loves pop music. I think it's for anybody who just embraces life to the fullest, or at least really wants to and really is trying to. Because if you've struggled with depression or other mental illness, you know how hard life really is when you're fighting yourself. This EP is dedicated to anybody who's struggled with mental illness. Fighting yourself every day is exhausting. I'm in the trenches with you. I get it. It's not easy, and I'm not gonna be the person that says, oh, well, just feel better, because we all know that doesn't work. So it's hard explaining that to people who haven't gone through depression, who don't struggle with it, but just know that you can make it out on the other side. I did, and I'm never looking back. Utopia is available wherever digital music is sold, or streamed. Go stream it on Spotify, go stream it on Apple Music, go buy it on iTunes. Send me videos of you jamming out to it. I want to see everything. Go listen to it with your top down in the car. I know it's the middle of winter, but do it anyway. Enjoy it. Pretend the sun's shining. At least for 16 minutes. Music can take you to another world, and why not come have a party in mine?
Now with me to another world. Dance, dance, dance. This is my utopia. For the first I'm feeling